Welcome everyone to the lecture number 14. Okay, so in this lecture we are going to understand two very important aspects, two very important concepts, that is your theory of separation of powers, theory of separation of powers. Okay, so what are the things that we have discussed till now? We'll first go through that thing. First we have discussed what exactly is polity, then what exactly the term constitution means, okay, and what are the different types of constitutions, which will be based upon different characteristics. So overall basically what are things these things we have discussed in last 6-7 sessions. We have discussed like what were the historical aspects that we came across in the formation of the our constitution, how constituent assembly was formed, what were the reforms that were taken before 1857, what were the reforms that were taken after 1857 that make us to this stage where the constitution was formed. Okay, so we have discussed till the historical aspects of the constitution, what is constitution, what exactly mean to us, and then what are the types of the constitution. Now we'll go through. Now whatever we are going to study in this polity, that is all about the whatever the things is written inside the constitution. Okay, so moving ahead to the lecture, we have to understand two important concepts, that is known as a theory of separation of powers. Okay, this theory of separation of power was given by French philosopher philosopher none other than your Montesquieu. Okay, he gave this concept of theory of separation of power. Why theory of separation of power came? Because we have discussed like there are total three organs of any democracy to exist. That will be your legislative, executive, and judiciary. Okay, these are the three important organs. Okay, and these three organs should able to work independently. But if they are able to work independently, but there must be something that uh, can be issues or corruption can happen, and there is also one thing that those things, the judiciary, executive, and legislative, should not be concentrated into the hand of one single person. Okay, it should not be, if I'm telling one single person means one single office. Okay, so it should not be concentrated to one person, like this thing used to happen under the uh, autocracy kind of things, where or king is there, king used to take decision, he is the judge himself, uh, he is the executive also, he is the legislative also. So this thing should not be present for any country to rule. That's why this theory of separation of power this concept came by the Montesquieu. What this concept tells, that there must be separation of power should be there, that judiciary should be a separate office, executive should be a separate office, and legislative should be a separate office. Okay, similarly, those things will be able to work independently. Okay, now there is an issue when they used to work independent, so we'll discuss about that thing just in few seconds. Okay, so former American president James Madison also said that, the concentration of all power, legislative, executive, and judiciary, if went into a if it went into a single hand if it went into a single hand, then it is a worst for a territory, then it will be a worst thing that can happen to a single territory. That, so he called this thing as a worst thing for a territory. According to Montesquieu also, that power of legislative, executive and judiciary should be a part of another member. It should be under watertight arrangement. That Montesquieu used this term, that it should be, this legislative, executive and judiciary should be under watertight arrangement. What does this watertight arrangement like? It should be very clear demarcation should be there, and nobody should interfere into the work of each other. That's something called as a watertight arrangement. Okay, now we understand the theory of separation of power. Okay, now we'll understand what do you understand by checks and balances. Moving to that, we'll get some theory of it. Okay, in the article 1 of US, it creates a legislative wings, that all legislative power will be with the Congress nothing but the Parliament of USA. So as per the uh, article 1 of the Constitution of United States, it tells that a legislative wing will be there, and the all power will reside with the Congress. Okay, and Congress, yes, Congress also have two houses. We have said the dual government. So House of Representative, will be there, and one will be your Senate. Okay, so this is article 1. Now what article 2 tells? That all executive power will with the president. All executive power will with the president. President will have the all executive power. Okay, and article 3 tells that all judicial power will be with Federal Supreme Court of USA. What we are going to understand from this thing? That separation of power is there. Okay, that legislative is independent through article 1, executive is also independent through article 2, and judiciary is also independent through article 3 of the through the Constitution of United States of America. Okay, so what happened? What should happen if anyone is doing wrong? Who is going to knock that thing? Because if you are giving, if there is a drawback, if someone have a power, so there is a drawback of it also. Let us suppose if you are giving power to lower society people of your society of your country, so that is good. That is good that you want to uplift that society by giving the power to the lower section. But what if they start to misuse those power? Okay, so that kind of question is there. So here the one concept comes. Here concept comes, the doctrine of checks and balances. So first of all, that for all these things there is a drawback. There is a drawback. What is the drawback? No organ is kept. No organ is kept under check. Okay, that's why now they have a in the USA, so they introduced a doctrine of checks and balances. What? Doctrine of checks and balances. Okay, what these checks and balances do? Okay, let us suppose this is your executive, this is your legislative, this is your executive, and this is your judiciary. Okay, now legislative can check executive. They have the power. If they want to question any act that executive should not do, why this executive is doing that, what the president is doing, legislative have the power to check whether he is doing right or wrong. Okay. Now executive will also have the power to check the judiciary. So president can also check the Supreme Court judges whether they are doing right or wrong. Okay. So they have given the power. Through that, executive legislative can check executive, executive can check judiciary. Now judiciary can also check president whether president had taken right decision or not, why the president is doing those taken those law into hand, or let us suppose president has given order to attack on Pakistan. So why they have done so? If it is wrong, so judiciary have the power to check it. Why this whatever the things you are doing, this is wrong. Okay, and they have a right to take decision on those act as well. Okay. Now another thing, judiciary can check legislative also. If legislative is doing wrong something, so they have the power to check legislative also. Okay, they can check the work of legislative also. Okay. Now legislative can also check the judges. They have the power to remove the judge of the Supreme Court. Okay, even this legislative can remove the judge, so they can also, they have also the power to check the judge, so they can remove, even they can remove judge of Supreme Court. So this is called as a doctrine of checks and balances. Okay, so judges of Supreme Court of USA are appointed by the President of America, subjected to the ratification by the Senate. Understand how it is going on. See how this check is going on. That judges of Supreme Court of USA are being appointed by the President of America and subjected to the ratification, it should be given by the Senate, that is the legislature. And from appointment to removal of the judiciary, this is kept under the check by both legislative and executive. This is called as a doctrine of checks and balances. Okay, I hope like this concept is clear very much. So two concepts we have discussed right now. One is theory of separation of power, which was given by the Montesquieu, and another we have discussed doctrine of checks and balances. Thank you.